pointed to Michael, the guy who could not pay me for months after taking care of him. And they said that he could not pay for the popsicle his daughters were using, the toilet paper that they were using to wipe their private areas, that he was penniless. I was shocked.
Michael Jackson, Marvin Gaye, and Judy Garland are remembered as icons of music and film, but their immense fame couldn't shield them from financial collapse. While Hollywood and the music industry often portray a life of endless wealth and success, many stars have faced the harsh reality of financial ruin. Whether through extravagant spending, poor financial decisions, or personal struggles, these stars remind us how fleeting fame and fortune can be. Veronica Lake. In the 1940s, Veronica Lake was a major star, famous for her signature peekaboo hairstyle and her roles in films like This Gun for Hire and The Blue Dahlia. But her success was short-lived due to struggles with alcoholism and mental health issues. By the early 50s, the IRS had seized her home and she was forced to declare bankruptcy. Lake's fame died quickly, and by the 1960s, she was working as a cocktail waitress in New York City. She died in 1973 at age 50 from hepatitis, having spent her final years penniless and largely forgotten.
Well, I don't know how many phases my music's gone through. I write my music according to my lifestyle. If I'm sad, I write sad music. If I'm being divorced, I write divorce albums. If I'm sexy, if I feel hot or horny or something, I'll write a horny album.
Marvin Gaye. Marvin Gaye's soulful voice made him a Motown legend with hits like Let's Get It On and What's Going On. Despite his success, his life was marred by addiction and financial difficulties. After 2 divorces, Gaye was forced to declare bankruptcy in 1976 and gave the earnings from his album Here, My Dear to settle his divorce. His financial troubles worsened, and by the time of his death in 1984, when he was shot by his father, Gaye owed over $9 million, mostly to the IRS. Though his estate rebounded after his death, he died deep in debt. Gary Coleman. Gary Coleman, beloved for his role as Arnold Jackson on Different Strokes, was once the highest-paid child star, earning $70,000 an episode. But his success didn't last. After suing his parents and business manager for mismanaging his earnings, Coleman won $1.3 million. But his financial troubles persisted. By the late 90s, he filed for bankruptcy and continued to struggle with health and financial problems. At the time of his death in 2010, Coleman only had $75,000 to his name, a far cry from his once thriving career.
Maybe it will distress a lot of people, but I've had an awfully nice life. I really have had.
I think it will surprise a lot of people who kind of like to think of you as a
tragedy.
You know, the poor little rich girl.
Never rich,
well,
just
not
poor.
That, you know, in the same
sad.
Judy Garland. Judy Garland became a global icon for her role as Dorothy in The Wizard of Oz, but her personal and financial life was tumultuous. Pressures from childhood stardom led to substance abuse, which compounded her financial woes. Despite a prolific career, Garland was deeply in debt due to unpaid taxes and poor financial management. When she died in 1969 from an overdose, she owed $4 million to the IRS. Her home had also been seized. Garland's legacy remains complicated, tarnished by the financial hardships that plagued her until her final days.
You know, and I wanted to be as big as Sinatra. And that shouldn't be a game, man. What you should do is be the best you can be. And that's what I am now. I have no envy about Prince, Michael, this one, that one, Bruce, whoever. Go out there and be the best Sammy you can be. And I really mean that.
Sammy Davis Jr. Sammy Davis Jr. was one of the most versatile entertainers of his time, renowned for his singing, dancing, and acting. But despite earning millions, his lavish lifestyle led to overwhelming debt. By the time of his death in 1990, Davis owed $7 million to the IRS. His estate was forced to sell many of his possessions to cover his debts. Though his career was monumental, Davis's financial struggles towards the end of his life demonstrate how even the brightest stars can face financial ruin. Billie Holiday. Billie Holiday, an iconic jazz singer, is remembered for her emotionally raw performances, but her personal life was filled with struggles. Battling addiction to drugs and alcohol, Holiday's financial situation deteriorated over the years. By the time she died in 1959 from cirrhosis, Holiday had only 70 cents in her bank account and $750 hidden on her body. Her funeral was paid for by a fan, a tragic testament to her financial hardships despite her musical legacy.
And we're just getting this in right now, and it's very, very sad news, Jim Moret, and to all of our viewers. Both the Los Angeles Times and CBS News are both now reporting that Michael Jackson has died.
Michael Jackson. Michael Jackson, the king of pop, was one of the most successful entertainers in history, but his finances were in disarray when he died in 2009. Despite earning hundreds of millions of dollars, Jackson reportedly owed $500 million due to years of lavish spending, lawsuits, and maintaining his Neverland ranch. Although his estate has since rebounded, Jackson's financial struggles in his final years show the precarious nature of even immense wealth.
In the last 5 years, I've been sort of semi-retired because no one cared, and frankly, maybe alive for a while. I intended to make a comeback. It's time.
Harry Nilsson. Singer-songwriter Harry Nilsson, famous for hits like Without You and Coconut, enjoyed major success in the 60s and 70s, but much of his fortune was stolen by his manager, and Nilsson's health deteriorated due to congenital heart disease. He declared bankruptcy, and by the time he died in 1994, he owed around $1 million in debts. Nilsson's story is a tragic example of how mismanagement and health issues can destroy even a highly successful career. Bela Lugosi. Bela Lugosi became an icon for his portrayal of Dracula, but his fame didn't protect him from financial struggles. Lugosi's career declined, and he battled drug addiction in his later years. Desperate for money, he appeared in low-budget films, and by the time of his death in 1956, he was nearly penniless.
Florence Ballard, 21, not married, still looking for my baby love.
Florence Ballard. Florence Ballard, a founding member of the Supremes, experienced fame as part of one of the most successful Motown groups. But after being forced out of the group, her life unraveled. She faced financial hardship and battled depression and alcoholism, eventually living on welfare to support her children. Ballard died in 1976 at age 32, leaving behind a tragic story of lost fame and fortune.
All my problems are behind me. I'm about to sign my new record deal, which I can do now with no pressure. And everybody seems to think that, I'm really suffering through all the headlines. It's great for me. At last I can get on with my career at last.
Andy Gibb. Andy Gibb, the younger brother of the Bee Gees, achieved solo success in the 1970s with hits like Shadow Dancing, but Gibb struggled with substance abuse, which derailed his career. By the mid-1980s, he was bankrupt and struggling with his health. Gibb died in 1988 at age 30 from myocarditis, likely worsened by his years of drug use, a stark reminder of how quickly fame can fade.
Happened here at 3:43 yesterday afternoon when a member of Houston's entourage located her body inside this hotel.
Whitney Houston. Whitney Houston, known for her incredible voice and a string of chart-topping hits, earned an estimated $100 million over her career. However, years of drug addiction and an extravagant lifestyle left her in debt. By the time of her death in 2012, Houston reportedly owed $20 million to her record company. Although her estate rebounded after her death, Houston's financial struggles tarnished her legacy. Janis Joplin. Janis Joplin, the soulful voice behind hits like Piece of My Heart and Me and Bobby McGee, became a rock legend in the 60s. But despite her success, Joplin's life was marred by drug addiction and reckless spending. When she died of a heroin overdose in 1970 at age 27, she left behind little wealth. Her estate later profited from posthumous album sales, but at the time of her death, Joplin's financial situation was dire.
We've both agreed to kind of cut down and do things more sensibly. Before, when we got started and through the whole time, we just up with it, kept going because we really didn't want to do anything else. We had no other interests. We, our work was our life.
Karen Carpenter. Karen Carpenter, one half of the successful 1970s duo The Carpenters, was known for her angelic voice and hits like Close to You and We've Only Just Begun. Despite her fame, Carpenter's struggles with anorexia overshadowed her success. Her battle with the eating disorder took a toll on her health and finances. When she died in 1983 at age 32, Carpenter had significant medical expenses, and though her estate eventually recovered, her financial situation had become precarious due to her ongoing health issues.
I just think that was time for a change, and life lands a crushing blow sometimes,
David Ruffin. David Ruffin, the iconic voice of The Temptations' My Girl, rose to fame with Motown but fell victim to addiction. Fired from the group in 1968, Ruffin struggled to maintain a successful solo career. His drug problems persisted, and by the time of his death from a drug overdose in 1991, Ruffin was living in near poverty. Despite his once enormous success, he left behind very little, his life a cautionary tale of Flame's fleeting nature.
He was a teen heartthrob in the 1980s. LA officials say Corey Haim died Wednesday at this hospital at age 38.
Corey Haim. Corey Haim was a teen heartthrob in the 80s, starring in films like The Lost Boys, but his battle with drug addiction derailed his career. By the 90s, he was bankrupt, owing over $200,000 in debt. He died in 2010 from pneumonia, penniless, and with his career in ruins. Now it's time to hear from you. Which of these stories was most surprising to hear about? Let us know in the comments section below.